Yo, welcome to Spectator Sporting. I'm Zach Roach, along with my partner, Mr. Ade Wally. We got a big show for y'all today. We talking boxing, and you know we talking boxing. You know we got Byron here with us. Man, let's get into it. But before we get into it, make sure you go to YouTube page, subscribe to that Spectator Sporting page, and leave comments. We do respond. Also, if you want us to talk about something, let us know in the comments. We'll give you a shout out on the show, and we will get to it. So let's talk about this action-packed fight. David Benavidez for David Morrell. David Benavidez from Phoenix, Arizona improves to 30-0, 24 knockouts after an impressive 12-round decision win over a very gamed and tough David Morrell. The Mexican monster keeps his WBC interim world light heavyweight championship belt. David Morrell from Santa Clara, Cuba showed the world he belonged, but suffers defeat, falling to 11-1, 9 knockouts, and losing in a decision. Morrell did score a knockdown in the 11th round, but the point was deducted because he hit after the bell. Byron, you've been telling us about Benavidez for a long time. You've been you've been saying like this is the guy. Talk about this fight, the Mexican monster against David Morrell.
It's a great fight. I called this fight. You know, I want my credit. I said he was gonna win a unanimous decision, and he did.
You did.
And you know, it's time for us to say that there is a new face of boxing. And that face is one David Benavidez.
Okay, the face.
David Benavidez is one of the faces of boxing. This guy is must-see TV. And you want to see every fight that he fights because he's fighting top-tier competition. He's trying to be a unified champion. He wants to be a champion. He wants to fight champions. So why not have that as your face of boxing? This fight went exactly how I thought it would go. Morrell is a great fighter, very game fighter, definitely has power, but he was not able to manufacture offense in the later rounds of the fight. Yeah. And 78-inch reach and not jabbing. Like it's insane. Yeah. 4-inch reach advantage, and you don't like the jabs through the first 5 rounds. 2 of 23, 2 of 19, 2 of 11, 3 of 12, and 2 of 12. And in those 5 rounds, Benavidez counters power shots 10 of 26, 14 of 30, 10 of 28, 29 of 59, and 12 of 21. He just was not able to manufacture offense. But Benavidez showed exactly what he is. He is a monster. And this is an action-packed fight. You know, as I told you, David Morrell is game. He's game. He's going to get better. He's going to, you know, basically go back to the lab, create some more ways to start his offense. You know, because there are guys that you're not just going to be able to go in there and bang and get them out of there. David Benavidez, you know, you guys were in the comment section saying that David Benavidez didn't have any defense. Well, looked like he had defense Saturday night because he did not get hit. I mean, he was not getting hit on the inside. That high guard, he actually talked about it in the post conference with him. He's like, man, did you see when I parried his hand away and then caught him with an uppercut?
Yeah, right. He caught him a couple times like that on the
his dirty boxing Saturday was absolutely excellent. And it's just, Benavidez is a guy you don't want to fight on the inside. I'm like, you don't want to fight him on the inside. And in his post fight, he said, I feel like I can hit you wherever I want to hit you. If I want to get you to the body, if I want to go to the head, he landed 76 body shots. And you could see his whole plan. Like I think that Morrell actually thought he was going to be able to dance, but very similar to the Caleb Plant fight, Benavidez went after the body. He targeted the body. I'm going to take your wind away. I'm going to drag you in those deep waters of the later rounds, and I'm going to just punish you. And the 11th round knockout was bullshit. It was more of a trip than a knockdown. And I think at that point, Morrell was basically, you know, he didn't have a lot of stank on them punches. Yeah. Because his body was just beat up. And you know, it was more of a trip to me.
They foot still like
it's like it was a little tangle up.
It wasn't a clean punch.
No, it wasn't clean at all. It was a punch.
It was a punch.
Right, but it wasn't clean at all. And I also will say that I did not agree with him losing a point for the late shot. I don't agree with that. I thought that, you know, There was a build up in this fight. You know, you got to expect that. You got two young guys. They want to knock each other out. You know, I didn't like him getting a point in that situation, but it didn't matter. You know, even if he would have got a 2-point round, he was so far behind. In this fight, he only outpunched Benavidez in 2 rounds, the 11th and the 2nd, and he was outclassed this fight. You know, there are people that say this fight was close. Nah. Probably a Canelo stan who literally just wanted this man to lose because you want to validate the fact that your guy doesn't want to fight this guy. But we see why Canelo doesn't want to fight Benavidez. And I just cannot wait for this man to fight the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol. I can't wait.
Yes. Nah, absolutely. I mean, the Mexican Monster looked like the Mexican Monster.
True.
Like he did. And that's not to say anything bad about David Morrell, because for him to take that punishment and stay in last to the 12th round, that was incredible, actually. Yeah. And he had a moment here and there, but Benavidez totally dominated the fight. Adi, talk to me about this fight.
Yeah, well, just like his first fight versus Hot Rod Kalajic, Morrell had his first 3 rounds was very solid. But in the 4th round, David Benavidez took over, okay? Yeah. He inflicted much pain to the body. Then he came upstairs with some hooks and uppercuts. And El Monstro hurt David Morrell towards the end of the 4th round with a right hook, all right? And Morrell's footwork and head movement became stagnant. He stayed in that stationary high guard mode way too much as David Benavidez chipped away at that high guard. And he did a little tricky, dirty boxing move where he'll take his left hand and move Morrell's high guard and then whack him with a right hook. Yeah, and the ref didn't catch it. It was real slick.
It was very slick. It's dirty boxing. Yes. That's what it was.
Yeah, the ref didn't see it, but hey, it worked. And the Mexican Monster flooded David Morrell with some head-snapping uppercuts and much more body shots, okay? And so, but in the 8th round, David Morrell finally started to work off that southpaw jab, okay? And he was working some combinations and some counter punches, but he just wouldn't or couldn't maintain that boxing style, all right? And so Morrell had a 4-inch reach advantage over David Benavidez, but he landed only 29 jabs. And David Benavidez was all up on Morrell, but David Morrell only landed 37 body punches as Benavidez more than doubled that output with 76, like Byron said, all right? And so, but I just love how going into the 12th round, the final round, the Mexican Monster, his father and trainer, they was telling him, hey man, you know, be careful, you got the fight won. Everybody, you know, you really high on the scorecards. He just got knocked down in round 11, and so they was trying to tell him, you know, to relax and everything, but guess what?
He still went out.
He still went in there. He still went into the phone booth with Morrell, exchanging with Morrell, a dangerous power puncher, which is crazy. He didn't do the stick and move. He could have stayed away from him just to get the decision, but he was trying to knock him out. And it just reminded me of Mildred Taylor versus Julio Cesar Chavez in 1990. Julio Cesar Chavez was undefeated. Mildred Taylor had that fight won going into the 12th round, and all he had to do was just stick and move and stay away from him. But at the final seconds, Julio Cesar Chavez knocked out Mildred Taylor. Okay, and I was thinking about that fight when Benavidez kept exchanging with Morrell, but Morrell faded towards the second half of that 12th round, and Benavidez just he dominated. He won the fight.
I feel like throughout the fight, Morrell would start the rounds good.
Yeah.
It seemed like he had success every single time he put Benavidez on the back foot. He would have success, and then he would fade. And that's what it was. Just like I was saying in the build-up, like, do we trust his stamina? Yeah. And I think stamina might be an issue with him, you know, as far as keeping up a high punch output. And I think that's what like drags you into Benavidez, because he has such a high punch output. He kind of forces you to have a high punch output, and if you're not used to that, you fade. So he had a lot of rounds where he started good, but by the middle of the round, he was backing up. He was on the ropes. He was getting dominated.
Yeah. Just like in every sport, it's not how you start.
It's how you finish.
It's how you finish. And the Mexican Monster, David Benavidez, 30-0, 24 knockouts, great, looks spectacular once again. But before we get into Benavidez, let's talk about David Morrell a little bit. Okay, let's see what's next for Morrell. See, Morrell, came into this fight, got a shot. A lot of people was in the fight before the fight saying, does he deserve to be in this fight with Benavidez? Benavidez took this fight, and from all accounts, we watched the fight. He got beat soundly. But he did show a couple things that showed like maybe down the road he could be something. Maybe so Byron, what's next for David Morrell?
Well, to be honest, you hear me on this show, I talk about Imagination Land. I don't like to live in Imagination Land. But at 175, I just feel like David Morrell doesn't have a fight that kind of stands out to me. I think he has a money fight at 168. So what I would like David Morrell to do is to go at one Caleb Plant. Like I would like to see Plant versus Morrell.
Wow.
And that's because I think Morrell needs to work on his boxing. I think he needs to start working with his jab and kind of, using the jab to create his offense. And this old age, I want to take this back to like the old age of boxing where losses aren't the end of your career. This loss is going to make David Morrell better.
And he's going to 25.
Right, he's only 25. He's going to be better after this loss. He went out in the post conference. He said, he wants to fight him next. No, you're not going to fight him next because David Benavidez has a much bigger fish his next fight.
Right.
So, maybe he wants to stay at 175, but I think this is a perfect opportunity to get a money fight. And you look back at 168, and you got a guy Canelo, and I think you go out there with a common opponent, like Caleb Plant, and you go out there and you maybe dominate him. I'm not saying Canelo will fight you because he's scared of every big fighter at 168 for some reason, but I think that he has a money fight at 168, and I think he can kind of refine his offense because his footwork is great, and I mean, you see it. I'm big on David Morrell. I am a David Morrell fan. But you have a 78-inch reach, dude. And you don't have a jab. You don't have a consistent jab. You don't have any type of offense. He had no way to get in. And you're gonna fight fighters that are gonna, at 175, you're gonna fight fighters that are just gonna put you in the phone booth. So you're going to have to, like everybody you can't bang with. You're not gonna sit in the pocket with Beterbiev. You have to be able to sustain offense, and so I think a good fight for him is going back to 168. Caleb Plant is calling out everybody at 168, so maybe you go back there. That's a money fight. I would love to see that fight. I think it'll be a main event, and I think that's a option for him. But right now, as far as 175, you got the top three guys already kind of locked in. You got Beterbiev and Bivol going at it, and Benavidez has earned the right to face the winner of that. So maybe fighting the loser of that fight, possibly. But I don't want to see that yet because I don't think his offense is good enough for any fighter that lose that fight. I think Bivol dominates him right now, and I think Beterbiev dominates him right now.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. But David Morrell, but like you say, he can take what he learned from the Benavidez fight. He, like Byron said, he knows what he kind of got to know what he's got to work on now, what he's got to get better at. He got to know. So, Adi, what you think is next for David Morrell? Like Byron said, he should go back to 168. What do you think?
Well, David Morrell looks really good in spurts. So possibly, like we said, stamina must be his problem. Okay. Because the big boys at 175, Beterbiev, Bivol, and Benavidez, they're not going to stop raining punches on you for the full 12
Those
rounds.
guys, they are in shape.
Yeah.
They are going. They can go 20 rounds if they had to.
Benavidez is different.
And they will exploit your weakness. They're going to exploit that stamina problem. Okay, so you need to get that together. But Morrell does have a 6-inch reach advantage over Bivol, 5-inch reach advantage over Beterbiev, 4-inch reach advantage over the Mexican Monster, and he has God-given power, all right. But that southpaw jab, he needs to work on jabs like every day. When he gets back in training camp, just work on that. He looks really good. He does it in spurts. Like eighth round, I've seen him doing it. Moving around, jabbing, footwork here,
and he had success every single time he did it. He had success every single time.
And I gave him the 8th round. And I just felt like he looked good. He needed to do that more often. Okay, but once again, I'm promoting this Joshua Buatsi versus David Morrell. Once again, okay. Now, Buatsi says that he deserves the winner of the Bivol versus Beterbiev rematch, okay? And he makes a good point because the man has been at 175 for his entire career. He's a Ring Magazine #3 ranked fighter at 175 pounds, and he is the WBO interim champion, okay? But first he has to fight on that deep February 22nd undercard against a man who only lost against Beterbiev and Canelo Alvarez. That's Colomando Smith, all right? Okay. So Joshua Buatsi, that's a guy I would like to see David Morrell fight. But we see that Morrell will have to go through a gauntlet in order to be the top dog at 175. 168
it's real.
Is more of a pleasant.
No, I think he dominates 168. And when you need to refine your skills, sometimes you don't want to do that jumping in the fire. So, I mean, you can comfortably go from 168 to 175. And it's not saying that he's going to stay at 168. He wants to fight Benavidez again. And I think he kind of overstated that in the post-conference. He wants to fight Benavidez again. But you need to work on your offense. And so I would like to see him working on his offense at a weight where his power is much more a problem. Because at 175, even with Benavidez, I don't think his power is like it is at 168.
Or even against Hot Rock Kalajic. He didn't knock him down.
He didn't. So, but
beat him up the whole fight, but did not.
And even Benavidez said that he was hurt, and it showed. Like I thought Benavidez looked absolutely amazing. But again, like you said, it's clear that he doesn't have Morrell type power. Like Morrell has, when he hits you, you react. Beterbiev, when he hits you, you react. So I think Benavidez's power is more cumulative. You know, it over time. It wears on. And even attacking the body, and he knows how to get you in position to put you out later in the fight. But Morrell, I think, you know, I do like that option with that fight.
Yeah, Buatsi.
But the thing is, are you ready? I don't want to see him take a loss at 175, you know, jumping up to get in that fire. I really do think he needs to kind of work on that offense. And at 25, he has more than enough time to dominate. He can go back to 168. He can dominate 168. And then go to 175 and go after the big dogs.
No, absolutely. So David Morrell, but let's talk about. I mean, you pretty much been saying it, but Adi, let's talk about the Mexican monster. Big time, second victory in this division, and now we gotta. If he's gonna be the face of boxing, if you know he might already be the face of boxing. He's definitely, if he ain't the most entertaining, he's right there as far as entertainment and watching and viewability. He's definitely up there. What's next for the Mexican monster? Is it going to be the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev?
Well, you know what? The Canelo stands love to discredit David Benavidez. They love it. But at 168, does any of Canelo's previous 5 opponents defeat David Morrell?
Ooh, good question.
Jaime Munguia, Edgar Berlanga,
Nope.
John Ryder.
Ooh. Now,
Triple G was 40 years old for the trilogy fight.
Yeah.
Charlo has an argument, but I don't know. At 168, David Morrell, that guy. And so I think it's about time El Monstro gets ranked above Canelo Alvarez on the current pound for pound list.
Okay,
it's about that time. And also possibly when we make the list of the top fighters of the 2020s, the decade, all decade list, rank the fighters. Benavidez is trying to be ranked higher than Canelo for this decade.
And he will.
All right, so now
I like that.
I would love to see Dmitry Bivol, his elite defensive skills and high boxing IQ, going against the Mexican monster's pressure, his constant smothering pressure. I would love to see that matchup. Now, in Artur Beterbiev, he's the most powerful fighter in boxing. So the Mexican monster might mess around and get knocked out if he try to smother Beterbiev. Okay. Now, Turki Al-Sheikh, he says he wants David Benavidez in Saudi Arabia on February the 22nd when Bivol and Beterbiev has their rematch. He wants him out there because I don't believe Beterbiev never fought in Saudi Arabia. He never fought on like Turkey's card before. Turkey wants him out there, and but Benavidez says he likes fighting in Vegas, but money talks. So I would love to see that matchup. The winner, I want Bivol to win because I want to see Bivol versus Mexican Monster. That would be a hell of a clash of styles right there.
Well, definitely, that'd be a chess match, like for real. Like that'd be very entertaining. So you've been one, like I say, Brian. You've been advocating for Benavidez for long. You say he's the face of boxing. What's next? What's next for the face of boxing?
He has the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol, and I think he beats both of them. You know, I don't
like it.
I know a lot of people aren't big on this kid, but I'm telling you, this kid has something. There's a drive in him. You know, we talk about his chin, we talk about his defense, but you know, and he said it. He said Morrell was one of the biggest punches I faced, and he still sat in the pocket with him 12 rounds, and he wasn't like hurt to the point where he was around. There is a calculated aggression with David Benavidez, and his high guard, the lack of defense that you Canelo stands think he has. He clearly has defense. He clearly can fight you in the pocket.
Underrated defense,
and it's very underrated. And he kind of forces you into what he wants to do. I definitely want to see him, matching wits with those elite type fighters. But I think, as far as I totally agree. He's over Canelo because he's just fought tougher competition, and he's fought him, and he's been impressive in these fights. So
Dimitri's Andrade.
Yeah, he's fought, and these are guys that Canelo didn't want to fight.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I don't think Belonga or Jaime Mugita would beat Dmitry.
No,
Andrade.
I don't think so. So it's just, I know everybody, Benavidez, you want to hate, you guys really hate this man just because Canelo ducks him, which is insane. Because how can you not watch Benavidez and be entertained? Like for 12 rounds, we watched this man and was cheering every round, competitive, and him going at. And I mean, he's not just passive; he's going after
somebody with power.
He wants to, and that's what I'm saying. He's going after.
He would do that against Canelo. Like he would. If
he would
walk him down, and they would be exchanging punches.
Yeah, they would. He's gonna exchange with you. Because he really feels like if you're gonna beat me, you gotta take it from me. And I just don't understand why you wouldn't want that type of fighter as the face of boxing. Like, because that's the face of boxing to me. A guy who wants to be the top of the hill and is like, look, I'm taking on the best. Like, I don't want to reach back divisions and fight. No, I want the best in the division that I'm in. I want to be the best. And so I think it's already set in stone. He has the winner. A Bivol, Beterbiev, and I think it's gonna be Beterbiev. And if he wins that fight, if Benavidez beats Beterbiev, he's pound for pound.
Pound for pound, top three.
Yeah, he's definitely
top three if he beat him. But here's what I'm gonna say. Now, David Benavidez, he fought Daniel Volstik, right? And David Morrell, with all his power, he fought Hot Rod Kalajic. Beterbiev knocked both of those guys.
Yeah, he did.
He knocked those guys.
He has power.
He has power. So beating Beterbiev would be rough because he.
But we have to also say that Benavidez has a very competent corner. They do, and he has. As far as Morrell, I feel like everybody in all the Canelo stands was in the comments. Morrell has much better footwork. He does. But what did they do? They went after his body maliciously in the first half of that fight. Yeah. We're going to take away your legs. You're not going to be bouncing around. And he was bouncing around doing his little dance to the 6th round. And then after that, he wasn't really doing it. Because he was getting, like, literally punished to the body. Yeah. So I think he'll game plan. But I think his special ability is high output and catching him on the inside. And if Beterbiev doesn't knock him out, I think he can lose a decision. Oh yeah, because I feel like Beterbiev can lose a decision to Bivol. Yeah, and he's clearly more powerful.
I think that was a draw.
That was debatable. That was debatable. That was very debatable.
So we can't say it's out of the realm of possibility of him because these guys have chins. And I think Benavidez is the culmination of a lot of Mexican fighters. he has a chin.
Right.
He takes a lot of punishment and he gives it back. And so, you know, I think saying that Benavidez is gonna get knocked out is kind of.
Well, I'm saying he could get.
He could.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I haven't made my prediction for that fight.
Yeah, he could. But
we're talking. Yeah.
I like him. I like him in that fight.
Either way, if he fights any one of those guys, it's going to be very, very entertaining, and I can't wait to watch it. You've been watching Spectator Sporting. I'm Zach Roach, along with my partner, Mr. Adi Wally. Shout out to Burn. Make sure you go on YouTube, subscribe to that page, Spectator Sporting. Also go on Spotify, subscribe, listen to it while you're riding in your car. In the meantime, in between time, we out. Peace.